Let's talk Tanya for the 25th of Sivan of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe laid out his position on Simsum Shaloi Kipshutai, the idea that although the Arizal talks about God contracting himself, that cannot be taken literally because God is everywhere within every single detail of every single element of creation. It only means that God isn't revealed within creation. To support this view, the Alter Rebbe cites two different passages of the Zohar. One of them is from the Tikkunei Zohar, where it says, "The less asar poni mine." There is no place that is empty, that is devoid of God. Loi bi Eloin v'loi b'satoin, not in the higher worlds and not in the lower worlds. And this seems to be very clear. It doesn't say there's no place that's devoid of God's energy. It doesn't say there's no place that's lacking God's providence. Poni mine, there is no place where he does not exist, which seemingly tells us Tzimtzum Shalei Kipshutai, that any contraction cannot be taken literally. And then the Alter Rebbe points to another place in Zohar. It's actually a passage from the section of the Zohar known as Raya Mehemna in Parshas Pinchas, where the Zohar tells us Iu Tofis Bekoila Veles Man de Tofis Be, which means God grasps everything, but there is nothing and no one that can grasp God. What does it mean that there's nothing and no one that can grasp God? On a very simple level, that means that not only us over here in this world, limited, finite mortals, but even in the higher worlds, the angels, no one can really understand God because God is above and beyond comprehension. There's even deeper understanding of that. Nothing can grasp God means that God isn't grasped by creation. Meaning that although God is present in creation, but he isn't impacted or affected by creation. For example, when we talk about the soul is in the body and animates the body, but the soul is also grasped by the body to the extent that the soul is impacted by what happens to the body. If the body feels pain, the soul feels pain. If the body is cold or hot, the soul feels it also. God is not that way. Nothing grasps God. God is within creation, but he remains above. And this, the Zohar contrasts with Iu Tofis Bekoila, God grasps everything. And that's really the idea over here. If we were to say it's Simsum Kipshuta, if we were to say that God literally contracted himself and he's not present over here, okay, so then it's not very surprising that we can't grasp God. And it's not very surprising that God isn't grasped within creation and God is not impacted by creation. After all, he's not here. The whole point of the Zohar is, Iu Tofis Bekoila, God grasps every single detail of creation. He's present in every single detail of creation. And nevertheless, less man de Tofis Be, we cannot grasp God. We still cannot understand God. And God still isn't impacted by creation. But what makes that statement so amazing, that no one and nothing can grasp God, is only because Iu Tofis Bekoila, because God grasps everything, God is present everywhere. And these two passages the Alter Rebbe uses to support his position that Simsum Shalei Kipshutai, that when we say that there was a contraction of God, it doesn't mean that in the literal sense. It only means that God isn't revealed within creation. That's all nice. However, anyone who's even a little familiar with Kabbalah and Chassidus is aware of the fact that we talk about two different modalities of divine energy. There is what we call Soivav Kalaman, the light of God, the infinite light of God, which surrounds and encompasses the worlds. There's Memala Kalaman, the light of God, which permeates all of the worlds and all of creation. But if we're saying Simsum Shalei Kipshutai, that the contraction is not to be taken literally, what does it mean that the infinite light of God surrounds and encompasses the world? Isn't that a proof that Simsum is Kipshutai, that the contraction is something to be taken literally? In tomorrow's Tanya, we will have the answer to that question.